Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Inspirational Corner with me, your host, Stylisha Bolden, as we encourage you here to live bold, live loud, and live authentically without apology. Welcome to another episode, everyone. I am so glad that you decided to listen in on today. And if you have not subscribed to this podcast, The Inspirational Corner, I encourage you to click the subscribe button so you can continuously stay updated on new podcast episodes. Or if this podcast is not for you, I would love for you to share it. But while you're listening to it, I'm sure it's for you. So hit that subscribe button. With that said, this is episode 16, and I'm going to talk about mental health and my story surrounded with mental health. This is such a personal time and such a personal moment for me that this podcast is different because I usually give tips and stuff like that. And I don't want to call them tips, but just things that I have realized that help me get through some down days through my mental health situations and issues. And we are in a different and an abnormal time right now in 2020. A lot of people still feel like 2020 is not a good year. I don't believe that. I don't speak that because our words are powerful. So with that said, I am still hopeful. I am still excited about all that 2020 has for me, for my daughter, for my family, for friends, and everybody in the world. I'm still very excited about 2020 in spite of the coronavirus. In spite of all the craziness that's going on, I choose to see the good. So with that said, we are faced with the issue of mental health, meaning a lot of people are dealing with a lot of mental health issue things that they may have not had to deal with in this capacity because we all are either still quarantined. Some states have reopened up. Some states are still reopening up in phases, and some states are going back into quarantine. Whatever the dynamic is of your state, I'm sure it has affected your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial life in some way, shape, or form. And so I believe mental health is important. Taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and physically, to me, those are the most important components of a person. And when we neglect those things, it doesn't help us or help somebody else. I take mental health seriously. Over the past 13 years, I have had to deal with my own personal mental health challenges. And so, with that said, I want to first discuss my story. So, some of you, or maybe a lot of you don't know, because my podcast is really new. And if you go back to episode 1, I talk about why I started the Inspirational Corner podcast. I talked a little bit about, the whole podcast was dedicated to me explaining why I talked about why I created the Inspirational Corner and all that stuff. And you can always go back and listen to episode 1 so you can understand more of why I started the Inspirational Corner podcast and the background of that. But I also discuss some personal things about myself. And one of the personal things that I shared in episode 1 was the loss of my 2-year-old daughter in 2007. This was the onset of my mental breakdown and dealing with a mental health situation that I didn't even realize that was developing due to that traumatic situation. So in 2007, and I'm not going to go into dire detail, but in 2007, my 2-year-old daughter passed away, and I was still in the military, and it happened when I got off duty and stuff like that, and she passed away on the military base. With that said, after she passed away, so many things, even before then, so many things were going on in my life. I was about to pretty much, I knew before I came back to the U.S. that I was ready to, transition out of the military. And it was just, I felt it was just, I was at a place and at a time in my life where it was just time to go. And I wanted to take back power and charge over my own life instead of be told how I can do life and what I can and cannot do and how my time needs to be allocated. With that said, when I was at my last duty station and had to deal with the fact that I went from having 2 daughters to now only having 1 daughter, that traumatic thing shifted the dynamics of me and my daughter's life. It changed my internal world, especially my mental capacity. During that time, I dealt with a lot of things. I was 28 at the time, single mom of 2. So when that happened in 2007, actually the day was February 20th, 2007 when my 2-year-old passed away. And it changed me and my daughter's life forever. And it was hard because I really didn't understand the trauma and how much that it would affect me after the fact. And at the time, I still had a lot of things going on, like friends that I thought were friends really were not friends. It was just a lot of as well as the traumatic things I was going through at the time. At the age I was at 28, I was still dealing with a lot of dramatic things. And so I'm so grateful with the blessings of God that He removed a lot of people from my life at the time that I needed, so it wouldn't hurt me as much mentally. So as I transitioned through that period of my life from 2007 to 2011, I had no idea of what I was dealing with because I was just going through the motions. I was at a really, really low place. I was at a really low place in my life, and I was in a dark place for a long period of time in my life. I had to finish. I still had a year left, to finish, out my military career. And so I had to, I was committed to doing that, still raising my oldest daughter, going through that process, still having to be a single mom and deal with taking care of the household as well as her and making sure she's okay mentally. And I didn't have time to focus on my mental state because I still had to live life knowing that my 2-year-old daughter and my daughter's sister was no longer present and dealing with the extra political things that was tied into the military aspect. So that was a lot. It was a lot of stress and strain. And so between 2007 and 2011, I had no idea what was transitioning in me from the dark place that I was at and all the different shifts and moods that I was going through, from anger to disassociating myself to wanting to be alone anxiety, depression, all these different emotions. And in 2011, so 4 years after my daughter passed away, in 2000, like I said, 2011, I was finished with my, let me go back and not jump. 2008, I was done with my military process and military life. And 2011, 2 years after I was finished with the military, I end up getting therapy because I knew I needed something. Like 4 years later, I knew I needed something. It was just so much going on in those last 4 years. I didn't get the help that I needed because I feel like I didn't have the right people around me at the time. As far as, I'm not talking about my family and the friends that I had at the time, but it was just, now the friends that I thought were friends, of course they were not the right people, but I'm just saying the right help as far as at my place of work to tell me, you need to go get therapy, you need to do this. I didn't have the right guidance at that time, that mental guidance at that time, or supervision at that time to tell me, hey, you need to get therapy, you need to, because when I was in the military, at that time is when I should have got therapy. However, with so much going on, it was just crazy. It was like a circus in my life. To make a long story very short, it was a circus. When my 2-year-old passed away, from 2007 to 2008 until I finished my military lifestyle, it was a big circus, and I was so glad to remove myself from that lifestyle as a whole, being at my last duty station, and just, I never dealt with anything like that I never dealt with anything like that. And I hated the place I lived, and I still live here, but I hated it so much because I had to constantly replay the memory of the loss of my 2-year-old in this one place. And so with that said, fast forwarding to 2011, I decided to get therapy. And when I went to therapy, and as I, did my sessions with the therapist, I realized something wasn't right with me. And as I was expressing myself to her, I didn't know that what the things that I was dealing with was what they said was PTSD and generalized anxiety disorder. And all this was on base with the VA doctors or clinic or whatever, mental health arena. So, with that said, as I have been going through the process from 2011 to 2000 to now, just processing through that, and I didn't realize all that time, from the time my daughter passed away up until 2011, that I was dealing with, excuse me, I was about to sneeze, but excuse me, I guess the sneeze didn't come, but it's okay. Things happen like that when you record. So with that said, I didn't know from 2007 up until 2011, before I was truly diagnosed, that was what I was dealing with. Those were the issues that I was dealing with, the PTSD. And it really put a lot of things in perspective with me. I was wondering why I was always doing, being angry or moody or just having anger outbursts with my daughter at the time when she was young, and just being angry all the time with her. And she never seen me as a happy mom, when I know that wasn't my personality before. I'm a pretty much happy-go-lucky person and positive person. But just to be in that dynamic, always angry, always feeling detached from people, not wanting to be around people, not liking crowds, a lot of anxiety. I just didn't understand. And then when I finally went through the process and understood this is what I was dealing with, it really didn't hit me until in the last 2 years. So 2011 is when I could fully say I decided to start coping with PTSD and realizing something had to change, because I didn't want to. I spent the last 13 years here where I decided to say, even after my daughter passed away, because I wanted my oldest daughter to have a stable place to live. I could have left and moved, because I'm truly still this where I live, the state I live in is not my cup of tea at all, but God had a bigger plan for my life, and my spirituality and my relationship with God was the biggest thing that helped me through it all. And my daughter, to help me raise my daughter. And so with that said, I wanted her to have a stable place to go to school and just grow up. And now she's done with school. So excited and happy about that. Such a blessing. And now we both can look with moving forward. But I didn't realize that the bigger picture was about my healing and not running and facing the internal wounds of the loss of my daughter. Although I stayed in the same state, in the same place where I lost her, God had a bigger plan for me to heal. And so with that, I've been going through my journey of healing, and it has been a blessing for me, because it has allowed me to face my inner issues and dealing with PTSD. So with me saying all that, those that are dealing with depression, PTSD, anxiety, or whatever your mental health situation is or issue you may be dealing with, I want you to be encouraged to know that no matter what people think of you or how people look at you, you are significant. Your life matters. You matter. And every day that you decide to keep on moving forward, that makes you even so much more stronger. It's so important to get the help and guidance that you need. I'm sharing my story because most people that know me, especially people that's real close to me, know that I'm a very private person. But it was on my heart to share my story, because I want somebody else to be free to live in their truth, and to know that having a mental health issue or situation doesn't make them less of a person. Talking about PTSD, especially as being a veteran, matters to me, because there's so many veterans out here that is fighting to get their VA disability in order to prove that they are disabled with different things that affected them in their military career. And we're fighting as veterans, and a lot of people don't even know that. That could be another episode. However, with that, I just wanted to encourage people that's dealing with mental health and veterans that's dealing with mental health, like I said before, and still trying to fight to get their disability, and get the VA to give them what is due to them. So, in spite of all that I went through, people would say, "Oh, you're so strong." And I am a strong person. I'm a very strong person. However, I want you all to know, if you have a very strong friend, the friend that you always go to and dump on and talk to, and maybe not dump on, because if it's a healthy friendship, you shouldn't be doing that. If it's a toxic friendship, then you need to remove yourself from it, because it is not good for your mental health. I have done that with a lot of people. I'm nobody's therapist, and if you're not paying me hourly, I'm not going to be giving you advice. I'm not your therapist. Excuse me, I'm about to drink some water, y'all. With that said, if you have a strong friend, make sure that you check up on your strong friend, and not only check up on them, say, "Hey, how are you?" I think it's important that we just don't look at strong people. Oh, that person could take anything. Like, you'll see a person go through, your strong friend will go through things, and they'll come back like a phoenix, always on top. That's my personality, because I try to not allow the things that I go through to keep me down. But the strong need love, prayers, and to be checked on too. So just make sure you check on your strong friends. So I want to give you a couple of things that has helped me get through bad days, dealing with my anxiety, dealing with, PTSD as a whole in these last several 9 years. One way I have really grown is journaling. Journaling has been one way that has helped me deal with my emotions, my mental state, and everything. Just writing things out. I'm a writer, but I didn't journal as much like I journal now. I journal almost every day. If I miss a day, it's okay. The second thing is podcasts. I have different podcasts that I listen to. I will put it in the section so you all can see the different podcasts that I listen to and go to them. But I'm not going to name each and every one of them for time's sake. However, podcasts have really helped me. I listen to a lot of inspirational podcasts, especially when I'm walking and exercising, because walking is my exercise. So podcasts have helped me a lot to keep my mental state empowered, inspired, and uplifted. The third one has made a major difference in my life: meditation. I believe that you all have heard me mention about meditation before. I don't talk about it a lot, and I'm sure I will be talking about it a lot more. I use an app called Calm, which I will put that in the comment section as well. Calm app has really helped me. I do the unguided meditations, and that has helped me a lot. I've been meditating for the last 9 years, and so with that said, I also do my own meditations now, and you can also listen to them for free on my YouTube channel, and it will help. I have different ones, and you could check that out. The fourth thing that has helped me is therapy, like I mentioned before, and life coaching. I've been to therapy more than once, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I love therapists. I love going to a therapist. If you need to go to a therapist, don't be ashamed, especially in the Black community. We don't talk about, we're talking about it a lot more, mental health and therapy, but I'm not ashamed to go to therapy, and I'm not ashamed of dealing with my mental health situation or issue anymore. So with that said, and life coaching to me is a form of therapy. I've been doing life coaching with different master life coaches since 2010. So that I've did life coaching, whether it was for my business, relationships, or whatever, or just personal development as a whole. And I deal with different life coaches, and like I said, I also put that information out there too. The fifth thing is spending time in nature. I love to spend time in nature. I love to be outside. I love to be around nature. It just makes me feel so good because I'm a very outdoorsy type of person. So, the pandemic kind of was like, I can't be outdoor, but I was able to go ahead and kind of get my front porch together. That gave me some motivation to stop being lazy and get my front porch together and I have a nice, beautiful backyard. So I'm very blessed. So now I sit on my porch. The heat has been really hot here in the South, so it's kind of like I wait till like 6 or 7 to go outside to relax, to just get that separation. If I need that time away from my daughter and she need that time from me, I go outside and get what I need. So being outdoors is a beautiful thing for me. Number 6, reading. I love to read. It takes me away to another world. I'm a book nerd. I'm a book fanatic, so it just helps. Reading helps my anxiety, help just calm me down. And drinking tea as well, that's another one. Drinking tea. I drink a lot of yogi tea. And number 7, music. Music has been a great inspiration for me since the beginning of quarantine. When we were quarantined, I'm still quarantined because went back into quarantine for my own self. I feel like being out there doesn't make me feel happy or make me feel good. It doesn't help with my anxiety. Not avoiding it, because I go out there and do what I got to do, because I'm not going to let anybody or anything steal my joy. If I have to wear a mask, I have to wear a mask. But because I choose to be inside. I just feel better because I don't have to wear a mask in my home and I feel normal. So I just choose to stay inside and only go out and wear my mask because now it is mandatory for most states, especially in my area. I just go out, go grocery shopping, come home, and if I want to do something else, I go in my backyard and relax and sit on my front porch. So with that said, music is at the top of my list. And the last thing, and I discussed it before, walking is my form of exercise. So recently, last week, me and my daughter walked like at 9 o'clock at 9 o'clock in the evening, and that was a beautiful thing. It was so fun. We decided just to take a walk around the neighborhood, and it really made me feel better. She was like, let's walk. And I'm like, well, you never want to walk. You always exercise in the house, because she's a homebody. So, but at the end of the day, it was a beautiful thing. So I just want to say this. I hope this episode really, truly helped those that's dealing with mental health issues, and it really puts you in the frame of mind. You don't have to be ashamed. I like I said it before, I told my story to help other people. And I really, truly want people to be uplifted during this time. We can find so many things to be upset about, but I choose to focus on gratitude and things that I'm grateful for. And if you are looking for more uplifting and inspiring episodes towards mental health, you can check out episode 8. I talk about self-care and things you can do to keep your calm. And in that episode, for episode 8 and episode 12, and that episode, I think it was entitled Showing Up for Yourself, and I do touch on mental health a little bit in that episode. So with that said, I am so glad that you decided to come and join this episode today. I hope you learned a little more about me. I hope you are encouraged, uplifted, and inspired to share this podcast with others. And I hope you are encouraged to know that you matter, you are loved, and you are very important in this earth. And if you have any mental health issues or situations like I discussed before, do not be ashamed. Get the help you need, because it's out there. Until the next time, everybody, live bold, live loud, and live authentically without apology.